Chosen in the Dark, Where Power Ends and Love Begins. Chapter 3. People think power is loud. They think it announces itself with guns and sirens and blood on marble floors. That's not power. Power is the quiet certainty that a door will open before you touch it, that a man will lie for you without being asked, that fear will do half your work while you sleep. Port Valen had belonged to my family long before the city learned to pretend it didn't. I didn't inherit it gently. I earned it the hard way, one betrayal at a time. The first time I saw Alara Quinn, I knew two things. 1, she was out of place. 2, she was exactly what the city would try to ruin, not because she was weak, because she was clean. Clean things don't last here unless someone decides they should. I didn't plan on being that someone. But plans change when you're forced to choose between inconvenience and catastrophe. And Alara, whether she understood it or not, was already standing too close to catastrophe. I left the clinic and got into the car without speaking. Nico was in the driver's seat. Calm. Solid. Loyal in the way only men who have seen you bleed can be loyal. He didn't ask questions. That was why he was still alive. Behind me, Merrick slid into the passenger seat. Younger. Faster. The kind of man who thought anger was a personality. "You went in alone," Merrick muttered. I didn't respond. He took that as permission to continue. He always did. "You don't do that," he said. "You don't sit in rooms with strangers." "She's not a stranger," I replied. Nico's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. He was listening carefully now. Merrick scoffed. "She's a therapist." I leaned back, letting the leather take my weight, and watched the city pass. "She's a variable," I said. Merrick laughed once, not amused, uncomfortable. "A variable?" he repeated. "She's a woman with a clipboard." "She's a woman who didn't flinch," I corrected. That made Marek go quiet. In my world, not flinching wasn't bravery. It was either training or denial. Both were dangerous. The waterfront case wasn't supposed to reach her. It wasn't supposed to reach anyone outside my circle. The girl had been found at the edge of Pier 9, where the tide brought in trash and the city looked away. 19 years old, barely conscious. No ID, no voice. But she had something more valuable than identity. She had memory. And in this city, memory was lethal. I'd had her moved before the police could touch her. Not because I cared what the police thought. Because I cared what my enemies would do to her. A girl like that doesn't survive the port unless someone lets her. Which meant someone had. I needed to know who. That was the reason I wanted Alara. Not to talk to the girl like some bleeding heart fantasy, to pull truth out of silence without breaking it. There are men who can force a confession with pain. There are women who can pull it out with a single question. Alara looked like the second kind. That terrified me. When we arrived at my house, the gates opened without a sound. The estate sat above the city on a slope of stone and iron. Old money architecture, new money security, cameras, sensors, men with hands near weapons they rarely needed to use. Inside, the air smelled like cedar and gun oil. I walked through the hallway without stopping. A man waited near the stairs. Lucien. My consigliere, if you liked old words. My advisor, if you preferred simple ones. He held a tablet in his hand like it weighed nothing. His eyes met mine. He didn't speak first. He never did. "Report," I said. Lucian's voice was smooth, controlled. He spoke like he was delivering a weather forecast, not a threat. "Someone entered Dr. Quinn's apartment," he said. "Not our men." Merrick cursed under his breath. I didn't react. Who? I asked. Lucian's gaze didn't waver. We don't know, he admitted. They didn't take anything. Because it wasn't theft, I said. Lucian nodded. Message, he agreed. A claim. I felt my jaw tighten. In Port Valen, claims were made the way men marked territory, with presence, not signatures. They left her a note? I asked. Yes. My hands curled once, then relaxed. The girl didn't understand yet that the note wasn't the threat. The note was the courtesy. Someone had wanted her to know she'd been touched, without being harmed. Because the next step could be harm. And now she'd spend the night wondering if it would come. That kind of fear would change her. It would make her smaller. It would make her obedient. Unless it made her angry. And Alara struck me as the kind of woman who turned fear into anger. Again, dangerous. I moved into my office. The room was dark even with the lights on. The walls were lined with books no one had ever seen me read. The desk was heavy wood, scarred in places that told stories I never told aloud. Lucian followed me in, quiet. Nico and Merrick remained outside. Do you want her protected? Lucian asked. I looked at him. Of course, I said. Lucian didn't blink. Protected by us, he clarified, or protected from us? That made me smile, just slightly. He'd been with my father. He'd watched me become what I became. He knew the difference between my mercy and my intentions. From everyone, I said. Lucian nodded once. Then we should remove her, he said. Send her away. I stared at the city through the window. Fog rolling in again. Lights blinking like distant warnings. No, I said. That would confirm she matters. Lucian's expression tightened faintly. She does matter, he said. I turned slowly. Lucian didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. She is a line, he continued, and lines get crossed. I stepped closer to him, not threatening, just close enough to remind him who made decisions here. I decide what gets crossed, I said. Lucian held my gaze. Then, after a pause, he said the one thing he knew would land. She will hate you for this. I didn't answer immediately, because there were two truths at war in my chest. One, I didn't care if she hated me. Two, I didn't want her to. That second truth was the problem. Later, I stood alone in the safe room. The girl from the port lay on a bed under warm blankets. IV drip in her arm, bruises blooming beneath her skin like dark flowers. She didn't speak, but her eyes tracked me. Aware, not afraid, not fully, just waiting. A nurse stood nearby, one of mine. She won't say anything, the nurse murmured. She will, I said. The nurse hesitated. Police are asking questions, she said. They're pushing. Let them push, I said. They'll hit a wall. The nurse swallowed. Sir, she said quietly. This girl, she keeps shaking her head, like she's refusing. I looked at the girl. She stared back. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. People thought crying was weakness. They were wrong. Refusing to cry was the real strength. I leaned down slightly so my voice wouldn't carry. Who did this? I asked. Her eyes flicked away. I watched the movement, the way her gaze avoided the corner of the room, not me. Not guilt, fear. She wasn't afraid of me. She was afraid of someone else. That confirmed what I already suspected. This wasn't street violence. This was organized. My enemy wasn't trying to kill me. They were trying to rot me from the inside. Through civilians, through silence, through public pressure. A war fought with bodies that weren't mine. I hated that kind of war. It forced me to play protector. And protectors got soft. I straightened, and that was when the girl finally moved her lips. Barely a whisper, one word, a name, not mine, not my family's. Something older, something buried, something that didn't belong in the open. The nurse leaned in. What did she say? I didn't answer the nurse, because the name the girl had whispered wasn't just a clue. It was a trigger. It was the kind of name that didn't get spoken unless someone wanted the city to burn. I stepped back, my mind already moving 3 steps ahead. Lucian appeared at the doorway. "Sir," he said quietly, "Dr. Quinn answered your call." I didn't remember telling him to call her. That was the thing about my world. Sometimes the machine moved even when you didn't touch it. Lucian's eyes were sharp. "She knows," he added. "She's asking questions." Of course she was. Alara Quinn wasn't the kind of woman who obeyed notes. I exhaled slowly. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I picked up the phone myself. When she answered, she didn't say hello. Good. "Tell me the truth," she said, her voice tight. I almost smiled. "No," I replied. Silence. Then, in that silence, I heard it. Not fear, resolve. "I'm taking the waterfront case," she said. My jaw tightened. "Don't," I warned. "You don't get to decide my job," she snapped. I closed my eyes briefly. The city was chewing on her already. I could almost hear it. "Alara," I said, using her name like a blade. She fell quiet, just for a second. Then she whispered, "You were in my apartment." "No," I repeated, "but I know who will be next." Her breath hitched, and there it was, the first crack in her control. I didn't enjoy it. I hated that I'd caused it. "Listen to me," I said. "If you walk into Pier 9 tomorrow, you will not walk out alone." Her voice came back lower now. "Are you threatening me?" "No," I said. "I'm warning you." A pause. Then she asked the question I didn't want her to ask. "Who are you?" I looked at the girl on the bed, at the bruises, at the name she'd whispered. Then I said the truth, just not all of it. "I'm the man who's trying to stop the city from swallowing you," I replied. "And the man who might fail." Her breathing turned unsteady. "Why me?" she whispered again. I stared out at the dark window. "Because you don't flinch. Because you'll make me human. Because if you stay, I'll start wanting things I can't afford." Instead, I gave her the only answer that would keep her at a distance. "Because you're already involved," I said. "And you don't even know it yet." I ended the call before she could respond. Because if I heard